states that are against Iraq's support of Arab and Palestinian militant groups like APUShnation16. Later on, the U.S. would also condemn Iraq for war crimes and their chemical warfare. In 1990, Iraq waged conflicts consistently producing above OPEC quotas in order to meet damages inflicted during the Iran-Iraq war. This caused Iraq to lose $7 billion as a result. In July 1990, Iraq continued to use military forces in Kuwait, citing Kuwait's disregard for the OPEC quota. Iraq moved 30,000 troops to their border with Kuwait. They stated that Kuwait's policies were inspired by America to undermine Arab interests and security, because the U.S. depends on Middle Eastern countries for oil development. The first Gulf War would begin on August 2nd, 1990, and on February 28, 1991. In total, it resulted in 292 coalition deaths, between 20,000 and 35,000 Iraqi deaths.
Alright.
That's it?
That's it. Iraq would offer to withdraw troops if all foreign troops in Palestine and Israel were withdrawn, as well as the dismantling of Israel's weapons of mass destruction. The U.S. said no, refusing to negotiate with Iraq, and would issue an ultimatum through the UN, stating that Iraq had until January 15, 1991 to withdraw, or they would utilize all necessary means to force them out. The U.S. was fearful of an Iraqi invasion of Saudi Arabia next, whom the U.S. heavily relied on for oil. Iraqi control of Saudi Arabian Kuwaiti and Iraqi oil fields would be disastrous for the U.S. The U.S. cited human rights violations and Iraq's use of chemical weapons as reason for invading, and would do so since with a coalition of 35 countries, the largest since World War II. The forces would start invasion on January 16, 1991. Mostly it was made out of US and Kuwaiti forces, with other countries hesitant to commit troops. However, the coalition's technological superiority and air support would result in the liberation of Kuwait on February 28th. A ceasefire would later be signed. President Bush I would be criticized for not pushing further and trying to overthrow Saddam Hussein. The president at the time, President George H.W. Bush, would be criticized for not pushing further and trying to overthrow Saddam Hussein by invading Baghdad. But Bush just argued that such action would cause unnecessary lives, and many coalition countries would not have supported such actions. Ironically, this is exactly what happened during the Second Gulf War. Instead, Bush authorized the CIA to try and begin an internal coup to overthrow Saddam, but would ultimately fail, like the Bay of Pigs.
The Second Gulf War, also known as the Iraq War, the major military campaign of which was Operation Freedom, involved a US-led coalition who invaded Iraq to overthrow the regime of Saddam Hussein. The war itself started March 19, 2003, and was officially ended May 1st, 2003. However, conflicts in the region continued until December 18, 2011. On the American side, casualty rates for deaths were specifically 4,471, while on the other side, for the Iraq, was 174,000. The major causes of the Iraq War started in the 1980s with the arming of Iraq. As a result of the Iran-Iraq War, NATO lost a key ally in Iran, and as a result, Western companies, such as American and German companies, sold technology to Iraq, to which they had access to chemical, missile, and nuclear weapons. The Bush administration argued that Iraq possessed chemical, biological, and weapons of mass destruction as a result, and that Saddam was harboring and supporting Al-Qaeda. They sought to end dictatorship in the country and bring democracy. As in 2002, Iraq stated in a declaration that it had no weapons of mass destruction. Do that again and I'm gonna hit you, okay?
Dude, okay, chill.
Alright, sorry, where was I? Alright, this was all in response to a 2002 demand by Bush that Iraq would stop production of any weapons of mass destruction. As a result, this caused Iraq to declare that it had no weapons of mass destruction. However, the administration still was under the belief that they did, which prompted, after the 9/11 attacks, to declare war and an invasion of Iraq.
On March 19, 2003, a coalition of forces including the US, the UK, Australia, and Poland initiated war on Iraq. The coalition forces were able to topple Hussein's regime and take Iraq's major cities within just 3 weeks, and they had very few casualties. On May 1st, 2003, Bush declared the end of major combat operations, but the insurgency continued and intense guerrilla warfare continued, resulting in many deaths. After an intense manhunt, Saddam Hussein was found and arrested without resistance. He was tried for brutal crimes against his people, including mass killings. In November 2006, Hussein was found guilty of crimes against humanity and sentenced to death by hanging. But after an unsuccessful appeal, he was finally executed December 30th, 2006. In June 2004, the provisional government transferred power to the Iraqi interim government, and in 2005, the Iraqi people selected 275 members for an Iraqi National Assembly. A new constitution was also ratified that October. There was lots of opposition to the Second Gulf War and protests around the world. Many people believed that it was illegal and violated the UN Charter, and they also thought it was illegal because they attacked without UN's approval. People also argued against the rationale for going to war, and they did not believe that there was a supposed link between the 9/11 attacks and the Iraqi government, and they also questioned the weapons of mass destruction that Bush claimed that the Iraqi government had. The Bush administration lost a lot of popularity because of this. There were also many unintended consequences of the war, such as the armed reactionary groups such as ISIS that were formed during this war.
Okay, no, why are you starting over? We're gonna cut it to Israel were withdrawn. As well as can you do it again, please?
Shit.
Tell me about the beatniks, Daddy.
Hey! Oh wait, shoot.
That action. Ironically, this is what we did in the Second World War.